Okay, what I'd like to do actually, would like to do something like this. Ultimately, I'll be able to just to have a button here. I click on it, and then it's going to count. Next thing, I'm going to have like more than just one thing. I have two different text fields. I have two inputs, and I do an addition, etc. But before that, let's just keep things simple. This is an example. The code here, just don't get confused, because the code is about AWT, and I'm going to use the one for swing. So it's not a big difference, but I just would like you not to be confused. My first thing I would like to talk about is this thing. You see this, these warnings from NetBeans. It says overridable method call in constructor, which means you have a method that can be overridden that you're calling from a constructor. Just to let you know that maybe someone will change this behavior, this state title, then you're not controlling what this thing is going to happen. But that's what you do when you call these setters. These are public and can be overridable, and inside of a constructor. Now, what I told you is that I can use this set visible also from inside here, and what this do now is that when I'm preparing the frame, I prepare all the size and the title and how the way I'm clicking on the button, and then also I make it visible. That's it. It starts being visible like this. But how is this called? Well, when I run this is calling the constructor. That's why when I call the constructor, these are going to be executed, and this is how it works. Now, I have the other option is that. Hold on, let's go back, let's check these whole things here. I will take them out from here, and then I will, if I'm not putting them here, I can just, when I create my frame, I can just, okay, I'm just importing it because I'm using this JFrame, so I need to import it, and basically I cannot use these directly. I need to tell that I'm using those ones that are associated to this variable, this frame that I just created, this object frame. Now, what this happens that it prepares an object of my first frame. My first frame is extending JFrame, which means it has all the properties of a JFrame. And then I can change them to suit my needs, because now this frame, now I'm going to set its title to be this, its size to be that, the way the X is going to work to be this thing. There are other options if you'd like to have others. There's exit on close. There's a lot of different things that are happening, but I'm not seeing them. Where are they? I wanted to hide on close. This is another option, or do nothing on close, or dispose on close. There's different things, but anyway, I don't want to talk about which one of them it does for now. The convenience is that exit on close is what we would like to see. If I click on the X, I want this application to stop. Remember, if I don't do this, what would happen is that the application is going to start. I click on it. It's not visible, but it's still running. So if I want to stop it, I need to stop it like this, like abruptly. So that's the advantage of using it this way. Now, generally, which one is the better way that you're going to be using? It's up to you, the designer of the frame. If you want to have people to be able to do things like that, just create a new, and then they will customize the frame the way they want it, then you put these things here. You check them out, I mean, from the constructor. But if I would like them to, for example, this is just to make it visible, to decide when to show it, and then here I just would like them to set whatever it's needed. So I'm just preparing the frame the way I want it, and then I just call it this way. So anyways, there are two different ways. It's up to you, the one that you find more. If you move the class, this one, which means you don't extend JFrame. Well, the import in the main was because I just took this here. If I call this JFrame, I need to import it. That's what there was an import in the main, but that's not the reason. Because you import something, I can import. If I remove this class, let's say I'm going to, well, to remove it, I'm just going to rename it. How about that? Oh no, let's not rename that. Let's remove it completely. Let's not be lazy. Just copy and then delete, just to make the point. No, just delete. Now this one doesn't have this thing anymore. Now you said because I have the import, it will work. Well, I have the import, java x.swing.jframe. Now you imported this. What does this mean? This means that I'm telling NetBeans or Java, check, do you know this class, this file? I will need to use this JFrame, this class JFrame that is coming from Swing and inside JavaX. But am I using it? No. But you could have said, well, you know what, I can just maybe do something like this. I can have a JFrame that I can initialize. And then yes, I don't need to have the other class. However, the default JFrame, the one that you have, does it have any buttons? Not really. Does it work? Well, I can just maybe copy the same things that I had before. Let me just paste them here so I can just copy again and put them here, and then cut this thing here and frame, okay, and then like this. Now what I'm doing actually exactly the same thing that I did before, but now without the need to create a class. That was a good question, because now you can ask, so why should I need a class? Well, you need a class because this thing here, what it has is just an empty frame. Now if you'd like to create that empty frame and save all this information inside the class and have all in one place, and then so you can use it another time easily, instead of just having to copy and paste the whole code. Now that's the difference. If I'd like to create something similar, I just need to copy this whole code. Now the advantage is that if I'd like to give somebody the same, this new, what was it called, my first frame. Now if I do something like this, I can just give this file and everybody can be using the same settings that I just did. No, the same settings, these are just 3 lines of code. Is this really bothering? Well, no, it's not a big deal now. But what if I have a big window that has a lot of different text fields, a lot of buttons, and the code, if I click on this button, different from the code. So it's going to be, everything is going to be in this class. So you can share this class easily by just putting everything here, and then if you'd like to use it, you're just going to be, instead of having this, let me just go back. Oh, yeah. All you need to do is this. You just create an object, make it visible, and you're done. Instead of having all the code to type it inside the main. So that's the difference. But it's, at the end of the day, it's you, the programmer, who decides with the one you find suitable. Yes. Set visible, it's coming from window. Why window? Because how did I know it? Well, just if you click on this, you press on the control on your keyboard, this becomes like a link, and then if you click on it, it shows you actually where it's coming from. But I'm not getting window. I'm actually from JFrame, who JFrame is inheriting from frame, which inherits from window. So this is where it's coming from. Yes. Yes, you can have more than one. Yes. You can have more than one window. Yes. Yes. Another question. A was like? Which A? In the main? Okay, this one, this variable. Okay, let me just shorten it to f, so it will be faster. What if f is what? Is a number? Well, how can an int is a primitive data type? It does not have dot something. So if it was another class and you put dot something, then the something needs to be either from the class itself or from one of its ancestors. You cannot have something that comes from thin air. You have to design it yourself. Yes.
Does the frame class?
Does the frame class?
Yeah, has a constructor an argument?
Of course it has. Yes, it does. Let me show that to you. That's what the next thing I was about to talk about. You see this set title here? Actually, you know what? There's this constructor here that I have in my super. I have actually these different options, but one of them is that takes only the title. There's one that takes nothing, one that takes graphics configuration. I don't want to talk about it. The one that takes the title as a text, the one that takes the title and the graphics configuration. Well, let's just take this one, the title, and now what I can do by just checking this, I put it in it here. I don't need to set the title. Now I'm just, if you just call this constructor the default one, I am going to call the one that you're going to set the title to the thing here.
What about if I wanna do another constructor?
Same thing as the classes. You create another class constructor, no problems. Yes, you can have many constructors that's going to be calling the same or different ones. It's up to you. Okay, now we said that we want to do something like this. Now, something like this has a label, a text field, and a button. So I need to create those labels, text fields, and buttons. How to do that? Well, basically inside here, so this my first frame, I should have a label, but a label, it needs to be JLabel. And it's control space because I want it to be inserted, the import also to be added by NetBeans. It's on this from the same package, javax.swing.jlabel. So I'm going to call it this LBL, just like that. And then I'm going to have a text field, which is JTextField, text field, and then I'm going to call it TXT. And I need a button, J button, exactly, you got the thing. Again, I'm importing. Notice that everything needs to be imported, and I'm going to call it BTN. Okay, first of all, before going further, I generally do something like this, but not all the time. But whenever I name my variables, now because I'm designing a lot of user interfaces, I will be having many buttons, many components, because all these buttons, labels, text fields, etc., they are called components. I will be having many components. Now every component has its own properties. A button, the way it works, is different from a text field, the way it works, from a label, the way the label works. So what I do when I'm going to be having a lot of different variables, I put some kind of a code in the name of the variable to tell me what's the data type of that variable. What I mean with that, for example, a label this here, I just summarize this LBL. So for example, this label, I'm going to say, like this counter, I'm going to call it label counter. So LBL is some kind of code to me that if I read this variable, LBL counter, I know it's the type of that variable is a label, a JLabel. And the same thing, this is a text field, so I'm going to call TF for text field and counter. And BTN counter, and then you can see that it's the same variable, so I know that these are all related together, and then I just put some kind of code for me to be understanding which one is which. This is the counter, the button, that's one the counter, the text field, the other one the label. So it's much more convenient. This is not something that you have to do, but you can do if you like it. If you don't like it, don't do it. This is my way to do things. If you like them, you use them. If you don't like them, that's optional to you. Yes? It is not already in your screens? Yeah, what's your question? Sorry, I thought it was already on the screen. Yes. Okay, that's a good question. How did I generate the import statements? Well, basically, if you do something like this, let me remove this one. Any class, if I type just any class, I know that I'm using this J button, for example. I type just the first part of the class and control space. Now, NetBeans is going to give me the option to select what was suggested. If I like it, as soon as I click on it, it's going to be added. Black screen? That's better. Okay, and let's start again. So the idea is that you type the name of the class, control space is going to, but you have to select it. It's like the scanner. I used to do that with scanner. You type scanner, control space, and then press enter. The NetBeans is going to allow you to bring the import again automatically. So now I declared those variables. Does it mean that if I run, I'm going to see them? No, I'm not seeing them. So I need to initialize them, because by default these are class data types. I did not put any value in them. Now if you'd like to put some values, you need to prepare them in the constructor. Now for example, the label counter equal new and then cj label. And what are the options? I can initialize the label with just nothing, or with an icon, the image that you were talking about, or a text, or an icon and some kind of alignment of that icon, and the text and the alignment of the text, or a text, an icon, and the alignment. And I'm not going to talk about all these at once. I'm just going to take the easiest one, just the text. Which means now, if I initialize whatever I type here in the constructor, this is what is going to be initializing this label, which means this is what I'm going to see on that label if I see it. So counter means I'm going to see now counter as a text there. That's in the label. Now the text field. I'm going to do the same thing, new j text field. And the text fields, different constructors again. One that takes a text, which means whatever text you put is going to be there. On one, it's the number of columns, which is basically the size of your text field, which means if I have 5 columns, that means the text fields have the size of be able to see 5 different characters. And this is the text and the columns. And document, what is document? I'm not going to talk about that because I honestly don't know, and it doesn't matter for us. Now I have 2 options, either a specified text. Do I need to see something here? Maybe if I'd like to see this 18, I can just put 18 there. I'm just going to do that just for fun. Notice that the text field is a text field, which means everything is in string, which means if I put like this 18, now this is a different meaning. This is the number of columns, which means I have 18 characters that I can put in this text field. So the text field is going to be very huge. Now if I put something like this, it means that it's going to be of the content is 18. It's going to be based on that default size. It's going to be the default size plus put inside of it the 18. And now the last one is this button counter. I'm going to see button counter equal new j button, and there's a lot of things. Empty action, an action, something that needs to be done, an icon, a string, or a string and an icon. I'm going just to do this because I want it to be count. Why count? Because this is what appears here. So I'll just like to do the same thing. So now I initialize them. If I run, should I see them? Not yet. No, there's not visible for them. I need now these. Now I created these objects, but did I tell them that they have to be inside the frame? Not really, not yet. Even though I declared them inside this my first frame, which is inside of the frame, but there's still something that I need to mention. In which order? Am I seeing the label first, then the text field, than the button, or the button first, and I need to specify the order of that. And in order for me to do that, I need to do something special. I need to, yes, still not working? Okay, what is it? It's just, maybe it's closed. It just closed on its own. All right, maybe it's just going to be, inshallah, better now. Everybody seeing it? Let's move on. Now, there's some kind of a code to be able to get the container, so I can put something inside of it. Is this get content pane. Now this get content pane is returning, no, I just would like to get, and then I could see content. You see, this get content pane returns a container, which means that container I can put something inside of it, and that's the container is going to give me the access to the container of this frame, so I can put something inside of it. So this get content pane, I can just put it into a variable container c equal get content pane. I'm just doing this because I just would like to simplify the code, but there's another way that can shorten this without the use of this variable. And of course I need to import, because this is a new class that I don't have it before in my list. I need to import it. Now if I don't want to bother about the imports, I can just put star here and star here, which I'm importing everything from AW, this package, and the Swing package. So I'm importing everything, so I don't have to care about it. But that's not something that is advisable, because you're importing more than what you need. No, you just need something, just import it. And now that I have this, I can add components to this. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to add the first thing, the order, the first one that you add is the first one you're going to be seeing. It adds from the left to the right, which means if I add the label, this is the first thing that I'm going to see. And then I'm going to add also, after the label, the text field, then add the button. Now doing so, if I run, oh, something happened. I'm just seeing the button. What are the others? They are behind it, exactly. They are behind it because there are different ways how to display these. Because in the Swing, there are different kind of ordering of the components that you put inside of them. There are different ways to do that. There's some kind of different layouts. Actually, that's the word that I was looking for. The way you put your components inside of a frame, there are different ways that are available to use. There's the one that I would like to use, the flow layout, which is the one that is mentioned one next to the other. There's the grid layout, which is some kind of a grid. You can specify like what's the size of your grid, and this goes in this cell, this goes in that cell. Or there's another one that's, you can put, this one goes up, the one goes down, the one on the right, on the left, and this one in the center, things like that. So let's just start with this flow. So I need to specify the layout manager, the one that's going to be allowing me how to tell, I'm telling this frame how to sort, how to order these different components that I'm going to give you. And I just need to create a new flow layout. So just this line here, this new flow layout, what does it mean? It's going to create a new object that is going to be a layout telling the frame how to order these different components that I'm going to give you, This flow layout means the first one is going to be the first on the left, then the other one next to it, and then the other one next to it, etc. Like on a line. And then when the line is complete, there's no more space in your window, it's just go down and keep going. So from the left, keep filling to the right, go down, etc. until it fills up the whole area of your frame. You had a question?
I didn't understand flow layout.
That's what I was explaining. Did you get it? Once again, the flow layout, what it does, it just puts the control one next to the other in one line from left to right until it fills the frame itself. So just by doing this now, I'm saying that this is the way this is going to be put inside of the frame, and I set that as the layout. And then after putting my different objects, this is still running because it's here. Let me close it. If I run it again now, you see how they look? Not the same way that I did, but because it did not find some space. So what it does, if it finds some space, this is what it does. This is the flow layout. Put one, and then the one on the other next to it, the one next to it, from the left to the right. And then when it fills up the whole space that is available, and there's no more space that added this to, there's no more space to add the button, it just goes back to the line and keeps going. And that's how it works. This is the flow layout. Yes?
I have to arrange them, right?
You have to do what?
Arrange them one by one. I mean,
I did not arrange them one by one. Did I arrange them one by one?
see that add.
Yes, this one? Yes, this is important. Because if I change this order, this is going to be different. But notice also, because my size is not helping, this is not enough width. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to increase the width and lower the height so I can have something that's looking similar to what my objective. So I'm going to, let's say, do it something like this, for example. 250 by 100. So now by having 250 by 100, I have enough space, so everything is going to be in one line. Yes?
About set layout, if I have more than like a counter, another one.
Another button, you mean?
Another button and another textile and another
And
wanted and rows.
there there's different type of layouts that will allow you to do that. Yes. So you can there's some kind of grid layout maybe that would be nice as well to use.
Can I do set layout another one? Then
Yeah, there's different. Oh no, this set layout will be applicable to the whole frame. Yes. So you cannot, for example, have this now to be this layout and then in the next line is going to be another layout. No, you have to prepare the whole layout to be something that is flexible. For example, if you'd like to have different layouts, you can have them in different panels. There's different ways, but let's not talk about that for now. But what I would like you to understand is, first of all, when we created this frame, we just created the frame alone. Once we want to put some controls, some components inside of it, we first need to declare them, then to initialize them, and then to put them in that matter. But before putting them, I need to prepare the place where I'm going to put them. First of all, I need to get the place where I'm putting them, which is the container. So this, let me just maybe rename this. Instead of C, I'm going to make container because that's even clearer. Container is of type container, capital C. And this container is given to me by this get content pane, which is going to be returning the container of this frame. Then once I'm having the container, I'm specifying how these different components are going to be put inside that container. And as soon as I put one after the other, the first one is going to be appearing first, then the second one, then the third one. Did you realize that this 18 just takes no space at all? If I'd like to take more space, I need to do something else.
Come on.
Because that's a good point, because there was a constructor that takes also the columns. Now if I use, for example, for the columns to be 10, let's say, now I'm having 10 spaces, and then I'm putting the value 18. If I run this thing, now the 10 spaces are taking a lot of space, so there's no more space for the button, so the button goes back to the line. If I want this to be a little bit less than those 10 spaces, maybe 7 or 5, that's enough. Now this is going to be probably enough for also the count to be on the same line. So You are the one who decides how things are unfolding. Okay?
I can't change the location also by set location.
Well, there's another thing. Well, I don't want to get into this different way. I just would like, let's build up step by step. Because if you would like to use the set location, you have to use another type of layout. So maybe there's another discussion. But now let's just do things simple. What I'd like you to do is to do this. To create those buttons and initialize them, get the container, set the layout, and then put them in the container. After you do that, now notice that if I click on this button, nothing happens because we did not program anything for it to happen. We need to put an action. And to do that, we need to implement a specific interface. And this is what we're going to be doing next, inshallah.
Everything must be inside of the constructor.
Well, here, yes. In this case, everything is inside the constructor, yes. But we're not going to always do that. But for this case, yes.